start? Yeah, here. Playoff picture to start.
Okay.
James, I'm sorry I beat you last week.
It's fine. I'm over it.
Yeah. I can't exactly remember what happened, but I don't think your team played too well. So
No, they did not. And I had my
no.
top two wide receivers out. So
basically, that loss, as well as Mo's loss, really opened the division up, at least the Central, for Michelle. She's got 1 game lead on you, 2 on Mo. We're going to get to my race with Steve, or the South race, and my matchup with Steve very, very, very shortly. And the North, I don't know what to say anymore about these guys. The division's just bad. I can't remember anything quite like this where it's what was the year, James, that the Seahawks were in the playoffs with a losing record in the NFL? Do you remember that?
I remember the division came down between the Rams when they were in St. Louis and Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And this was when Sam Bradford was still with Seattle, not Seattle, the Rams. So I would say probably 2009, maybe.
It was a little while ago, but this kind of reminds me, the North Division in our league kind of reminds me of the NFC West that year. Somebody's got to win the division. I don't know who it's going to be at this point. Everybody's been in 1 game of each other, but somebody's got to win that division.
Right.
So that long way to go there. And we're going to get to Mo's team, the way she's standing. That's an interesting thing to talk about as well, because she's losing. She's lost 2 games in a row, and she's losing ground quickly in the playoff race.
She's looking good against me right now.
What's that?
She's looking good against me right now.
Oh, we'll get to that in a sec, because that's an interesting matchup anyway, as well. Thing for anybody that wants to look. Everybody's pretty bunched up, other than John. John's season's all but over at this point. Everybody else has a shot at the postseason. It helps the North teams out that the division's so bad that Larry and Brendan, even though they're 3 and 6, really are right in the thick of things. So we still got a long way to go, even though there's only 4 weeks left in the regular season.
Right. By the way, I don't see the standings right now.
What do you see?
Black screen, but I hear you.
Oh, I don't know.
Might be my phone, I'm sorry. But anyways.
Yeah, I think so. Everything looked good on my end.
Okay.
Free agent pickups, there wasn't really any bidding on anybody. There weren't any big names out there. The only person that missed out on a player was you, James, on Roethlisberger, but I don't know if that's anything you're too concerned about or not.
A little, just because Pittsburgh's got a favorable matchup, it seems like. But, it's not like Big Ben is what he used to be, so.
No, that's true. I guess with Mo picking him up, that's kind of a thorn in your side a little bit.
Not really. I mean, with us going against each other this week, she had to do what she had to do to, get the edge, and I don't blame her. So, it is what it is. Just got to go out there and play, and may the better team win.
All right. Only other thing I saw, the only other really big bid, Justine bid $10 on David Njoku of the Browns, the tight end.
Whoa.
A little interesting. Yeah, that's a lot of money. I don't know. I think some people in this league have a little bit of trouble valuing players because of how high some of the players were going for earlier
Yep,
in the season. What's that?
Including myself.
Hmm. But at this point, I think the values are just a little bit down because some of the big bidders, including the two of us and a couple other people, are running out of money at this point. So
Right.
That drags everything down. Top game this week is my matchup with Steve, and this is a really, 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 really big matchup in the South. We're both playing. Both teams have looked good recently. We've both won 2 straight. We've been basically within a game of each other in the standings the entire season. And at least from my point of view, this is my opportunity to basically take the division this week. A win gives me a 2-game lead with 3 games to play.
Ooh.
Yeah. If I lose, we're tied, and Steve clinches the head-to-head tiebreaker because he already beat me this year.
Wow.
So, yeah, this is a really, really big game. Last night, not anything to really talk about. Thomas Rawls got me 5 points. John Brown got Woj 4 points. I really like the matchups this week with me, with this matchup, mostly because I think I can match up fairly well at wide receiver with Woj. DeAndre Hopkins' value, I think, is really low without Watson.
Yep.
I'm missing Travis Kelce to a bye. That's got me a little nervous. I know Josh McCown's played well this year, but starting him makes me nervous a little bit nervous. But as long as Woj doesn't kill me too much at running back, I like my chances, and I think I'm going to win this week. But we'll see. I mean, I'm very nervous about this week's game. It's just such a big game. Definitely the biggest game of the year for probably both of us so far. So not sure exactly what's going to happen.
Right on, but I think you got this, Mike.
You think so?
I think so.
Okay. My team's played well recently, and I believe last time we played each other, I scored all of 93 points.
Right.
So I hope that probably won't happen again.
Right.
We're gonna move on to your game, James.
I lost. Move on to the next one.
You think you're gonna lose?
Yes.
Why?
AP did not have a good game last night. Seattle really marked him up well. I love the fact that Arizona is using him, but he just got lit up by the Seattle defense, unfortunately. But the point total wasn't there. The usage was. The points weren't. I feel like I'm in a little bit of a hole now, even though Zeke is suspended. So I think Mo's going to get me.
21 carries, 29 yards for Peterson, and a fumble, I believe, right?
Yep, and a catch for 13 yards.
Yeah.
So,
21 carries, 29 yards is pretty bad.
Yeah. I mean, I like the fact that they kept using him. I just think it sucks that, Seattle knows how to mark and contain Adrian Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you go back to when he was a Viking 2 years ago in the 2015 playoffs that the Vikings hosted at University of Minnesota, they were able to contain him very well. And, they would have all the gaps covered because they knew if AP was on the field, they're running the ball. So, They just had a really good feel for him, and I'm just happy that Arizona again continued to use him even though he was ineffective. I'm a little butthurt that they let Andre Ellington have a 1-yard carry for a touch. But
yeah,
I'm upset that he didn't get the points that I felt like I was expecting. I was hoping to get close to 10, if not double digits. I would have felt a little better, but the one positive I can say is at least they used them for 20 plus touches, and so. But I don't think I'm going to win it this week. I think Mo's going to get me.
well, you're missing Carson Wentz too, which does not help matters.
Of course.
Yeah, and Mo is missing a big player in Tyreek Hill. The other thing I was going to ask you, we already know. Before I get to Mo's team, Kelvin Benjamin in Buffalo. Because that is this is his first game coming up to playing with his new team this week. So nervous at all about what he may do with the Bills, or do you think he's going to be able to maybe improve on what he did with Carolina?
I don't really see much of a change, and here's why.
Mm-hmm.
They are using Jordan Matthews as the feast or famine wideout. I foresee him a little bit more towards what he was initially in Carolina. It'll take a little bit to learn the playbook.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he's a one-cut wide receiver. He's a big dude, but he's not the most agile. Like, he's good for one cut, catch, and, on to the next.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's also kind of like under-glorified tight end a little bit because he has a 6'5" frame that bodes well in the end zone. So with that said, I can foresee a slightly similar output that he was doing at, the Panthers or with the Panthers. And going into this week, you also got to remember, he's going against a Saints team that he's very familiar with.
Right.
Which bodes well for him, I feel like, because he already knows, even though, and this is going to sound weird, even though you need to have a comfort level with the playbook, you also got to keep in mind, I'm sure he has a comfort level in what to expect from the Saints and knowing how they're going to deal with him and cover him because, outside of the ACL injury, he's played him, 6 times in his career already?
Yeah. I mean, however, and I don't know if you can see, I have the numbers up for this year. When the Panthers played New Orleans back in September, he had 2 catches for 8 yards.
Right. What week was that?
Week 3. I mean, we're talking 2 months ago.
Right. But also keep in mind, Cam Newton is not the quarterback that he once was, and he's also got a shoulder injury that he still doesn't look like the Cam of old as a passer. So, I hear what you're saying, but I also think is it wrong to say that right now in this season, the person throwing the ball to him is an upgrade now in Tyrod Taylor?
No, it's not. It's not. You're absolutely right. I agree with that.
What? I'm sorry?
I agree with that.
So, don't get me wrong. I mean, I feel like it's going to be curbed a little bit because he's got a playbook to learn. But, in turn, I see an upgrade, a slight upgrade at least, in the person throwing him the ball. And then not to mention, for this week in particular, he's going up against a team that he is familiar with and he knows what to expect. So, I'm not as nervous as you would expect. If it was a team that he's rarely faced in his career, like, let's throw out there, I'll throw the Broncos out there because he didn't play in the Super Bowl with his torn ACL.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like he's playing against a team that he hasn't ever played against or played once as a rookie or something like that. Like, he has some familiarity with how they're going to mark him, how they're going to cover him. And to be honest, let's also be fair, the Saints don't normally play the Bills. So it's not like the Saints are going against the Carolina Panthers. They're going against the Buffalo Bills that they play once every 6 years?
8 years, I think, something like that.
Give or take. So, I think it's a wash across the board with all that. I think he can get a touchdown. PPR numbers probably won't be up there. Obviously, he's not like a deep threat or anything like that, or a burner. But can I see him getting a touchdown pass or 5 catches for 50 yards? Yeah, I can see something like that. Nothing spectacular, but nothing terrible, like middle of the road-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, the other thing I wanted to, before I get to my pick, because this was something that crossed my mind. I know you and Mo have both lost 2 straight heading into this, but for Mo, especially sitting in the 6th spot, is this almost like a must-win? Do you think this is like a must-win game for her?
Do I think it's a must-win game for her?
Yes.
I would argue no.
Okay.
Because, and here's why. He still has to play Rob again, right?
Yeah, she's got Rob. I don't know who she has week 12. She's got Rob in week 13, and I'm playing her next week.
I would say this game is not a must-win for her. But if she loses this game, I mean, then it really gets to, okay, I need, right now, and just going off of history, usually you have to have at least 7 wins to get into the playoffs.
Right.
I think, and I'm playing devil's advocate, I still think she's going to beat me, but let's say by the very rare chance I win and she loses, she goes to 5-5.
Mm-hmm.
She has to win 2 of the next 3 games. I think she can manage that. The real key is, where does Rob fall, and does she beat Rob? That's where the must-win is going to be, because right now, it's probably going to be them 2 for the last 2 positions, or whoever loses this game in the last 2 positions, or fighting for that last position. Because you have the 3 division winners. Right now, I think it's pretty safe to say that you're going to have 2 people coming out of the Central for the wild cards, and then the last person, and 1 out of the South. I think, with all due respect to the North, right now, there isn't a lot of confidence out there right now with the North Division getting a wild card spot. But, it's like if she wasn't to win this week, I would say that Rob-Mo game becomes crucial.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would be the deciding factor as to who makes the playoffs.
Well, yeah, and that's a Week 13 game, and I thought the same thing, that could end up being a winner-go-home game in Week 13 between the two of them. But I was going to say, go ahead.
Sorry.
So I brought up the schedule on my phone just to look. So it's actually interesting. I brought up Rob's schedule as well. Mo and Rob actually both play Justine the next 2 weeks. Rob plays Justine in Week 11. Mo plays Justine in Week 12, and Justine's at 4-5 as well. So there's a lot of intrigue with all those teams in the middle playing each other over the next couple weeks.
But I would also argue that also validates my point that this isn't necessarily a must-win game for Mo.
Mm-hmm.
Because whether or not she wins this game or not, there's still 2 other games at the end of the season that are going to mean more than just this game if we're talking about just getting into the playoffs. If we're talking about Mo winning the division, I would say this is a must-win game. But if we're talking Mo making the playoffs, no, this is not a must-win game for her.
Yeah, it's hard to say at this point what's going to happen. The other factor in, if as I mentioned, possibly Justine factoring into the race. Justine, if she were to go on a roll, she'd probably end up winning the North, rather than being a wild card anyway.
Right. The only other team in the North that I feel like has a legitimate shot to make the playoffs is Glenn.
Right. Yeah.
But that's also where I lose a little bit of confidence because, both teams have been high and low this entire season.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I'm just going to make my point. My pick, we've been talking on this matchup for a little while. I agree with you. I think Mo's going to win, especially after what Peterson did last night or didn't do last night.
I just say I would have saved you 10 minutes of talking about it.
You did. I didn't have to make it. You said everything. I didn't have to say a word. The other central matchup, and we were just talking about Rob. He's playing Michelle this week. Michelle's got a shot to clinch a playoff spot with a win and a little bit of help. She's sitting at 7-2. Obviously, she's going to be in the playoffs regardless at this point. At some point, she's going to clinch. She's more focused, I guess, at this point on trying to retain her lead in the Central. The trouble with Michelle this week is that she doesn't. The wide receiver situation is becoming an issue for her, and I think you have to agree with me with this, James. She's got to find some. I can't see her getting through the season without trading for a wide receiver.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
It's bad. It's really bad, and she has running backs that she can deal. I'm not even saying she has to go for a superstar. She can make a vast improvement at wide receiver and still keep Gurley and Freeman and Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
We still have a little under 2 weeks to go till the trade deadline. I'm expecting her to make some type of move. Whether she does or not remains to be seen. But Russell Wilson was decent last night. He got 18 points. Lockett didn't do much of anything. He only had 1 catch. So Rob's favored this week. And as I said, the reason Rob's favored is because he can match up with Michelle at running back. He's one of the few teams that can. And his wide receivers are a tick better, mostly because of Michael Thomas. Jack Doyle's played well lately. Rams have a good matchup against Houston and the backup quarterback, Savage. So I like Rob this week in this one.
Yeah. with all due respect to Michelle, I'm actually a little bit surprised that she is winning the Central with the lack of wide receivers that she has. But in turn, don't get me wrong, she's having a stellar season, and, nobody can front that. So, but I think if she is really trying to make a run to win the league, she needs to make a couple of moves. Solidify her wide receivers. And, hell, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Maybe she should trade one of her star running backs to get a suitable running back 2 and a good, number 2 or number 3 wide receiver. You can say, it's kind of like a James trade where it doesn't make sense, #fire sale, all that other fun love. I think Bentley agrees with me on that. Thank you, Bentley.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I brought up Gurley on the screen for the reason, and this is why the big reason Michelle's where she's at is because Russell Wilson's been outstanding, and Todd Gurley, I believe, is leading in fantasy points this year. He's the top fantasy scorer. Gurley's schedule for the fantasy playoffs, weeks 14, 15, and 16. Eagles, Seahawks, Titans. That is not good. No. And Gurley, if you look, again, in the first game against Seattle, he didn't do anything the first time the Rams played them. So that's got to send off. I mean, she can't depend on Gurley to carry her to the championship with those matchups in the fantasy playoff weeks.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree. But who did you pick this week? Did you make a pick for this?
I agreed with you that I think was the pick.
We're going to the north. And I made this point earlier this week, and I'm kind of hoping that this happens because this would be funny. If Brendan beats Glenn and Larry beats Justine this week, we have a 4-way tie in the division, and everybody's at 4-6. If that were to happen, that would almost guarantee, in my mind, that no North teams are making a wild card. Getting in, and at that point, if that were to happen, you're talking about basically saying, all right, whoever does the best over the last 3 weeks is going to win.
Agreed.
And that's it. I
would not necessarily rule out a wild card spot. It's very slim, and I don't think it's going to happen. But depending on the schedule, if you have 2 teams that go 3-0, and then you got 2 teams that have 7 wins, one's going to win the division, but the other is going to, possibly make the wild card. Like usually, historically, 7 wins and you're in.
Well, yeah, and it's not just that, and I'm bringing this up because the possibility, it hasn't happened in a while, but the possibility is out there. I mean, right now there's only 5 teams with winning records in the league. Yeah. So a 6-7 playoff team is possible this year with the way things are playing out.
Right.
What's that?
No, and I'm agreeing with you. You said, yeah, that also has happened, and yeah, you're right. I think I was.
Yeah, you don't. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying. I believe one year I was a 6-7 playoff team.
There's been a few. As I said, it was in the early years. It's been a while since it's happened, but it's happened a few times, and the door that you don't want to depend on going 6-7 and making the playoffs. as you said, historically, you need 7 wins. That's kind of the magic number. And at the same time, 7 wins doesn't guarantee you a playoff spot either.
Right, but more likely than not, you would be in.
More likely than not. Usually, if you get 7 wins and you're out, you ended up on the short end of the tiebreakers or something.
Correct.
Interesting matchup because Brendan is favored coming into the week and then got that cheap touchdown from Ellington last night.
Yeah. Thank you for rubbing salt in my wounds, Mike. Thank you.
Hey, Brendan's the beneficiary of that, and it's interesting because Brendan's team hasn't been on the radar all season, and he's just hanging in this race. He's got Antonio Brown. He's got who's been playing well lately. He's got Rob Gronkowski. He's got good 2 tight ends set with Evan Ingram and Rob Gronkowski.
Wait, Mike.
What's that?
What did you just say?
2 tight end sets.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, what I got reamed for last year?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. How many teams have had a 2 tight end set? Brendan?
Yeah.
A lot of teams what?
I will say I was playing 2 tight end sets until Robbie Anderson started going off, and then I stopped it. But I was doing that for a little bit.
Isn't it a beautiful thing?
Yeah, it works. It's worked.
You have 2 good players. Why not play both of them?
Yeah. Brendan's got some stuff going for him this week. I'm picking this. I think this is going to be, to me, it's the toughest matchup of the week, and I'm actually picking Glenn to win. Reluctantly picking him to win. I do think Marvin Jones. I like the Marvin Jones matchup against Cleveland. I do like the Jaguars' defense against the Chargers, and we know how key the Jags' defense has been for Glenn. And he does have better running backs, even with Ellington's performance last night for Brendan. He still has better running backs. So I'm picking Glenn to win by a slither.
All right. I need you to do me a favor, and I need you to listen to me on this. I'm going to quote Rush Hour 2. Chris Tucker. You have to follow the rich white man. What I mean by that is, now listen, you know what I'm talking about. You're laughing, so you know what I'm talking about. What's Brendan?
I do. I know where you're going.
What's Brendan's classic saying about fantasy football?
Oh, it's just dumb luck.
All right, good. And is he Irish?
Yeah.
All right. And the Irish tend to be lucky. And he has a baby boy that's probably, 2 months now? Brendan Jr.?
About 2 months, yeah. Well, almost.
So is everything I'm saying truthful right now?
So far, yes.
All right. So that means Brendan's the rich white man. So you got to follow the rich white man. I'm going with Brendan.
You mentioned that. I was just thinking this, of all the years, and Brendan's had way better teams than this in the past. This is going to end up, I was just thinking, it wouldn't surprise me if this ends up being the year he finally wins a division. It would not shock me.
I'm just saying, follow the rich white man. Brendan, if you watch this, you're the rich white man. Keep going, bro.
It would just be so Brendan if he won his first division title with the worst team he's had since he started in this league. Yeah. It would just be worst team he's had since we were in college. I mean, I wouldn't be able to believe that. All right, we're going to move on. Muscat Bowl.
Yes, but just one last thing. You also got to keep in mind, Glenn, right now he's like switched time zones. He's more focused on his lovely wife. So, by the way, I tried calling Glenn a couple days ago. No answer. Thank you, Glenn. But no, honestly though, I think the time zone change and the fact that he's married now, weighing down his fantasy intellect. I think he's a little fatigued, if you know what I mean. So he's not the rich white man. Brendan is the rich white man. You got to follow.
That you do know Glendon hasn't moved yet.
Oh, he hasn't.
No.
But he's preoccupied with the move, right?
Oh, I'm assuming, yeah.
So you still got to follow the rich white man.
All right. Larry and Justine.
I make it interesting. Come on.
Yeah, I know. You always do.
That's why you like doing this podcast with me.
Yeah. This matchup, I feel like Justine's a pretty decent favorite coming into this one. This was a matchup that we saw a lot of points scored last night. And Justine got a huge night from Larry Fitzgerald with 21 points when he was only projected for 12. That is a big difference maker because I can't see Larry have any of Larry's wide receivers matching that.
Can I make it simple for you, Mike? I'm going to make it simple. What's the saying that goes about marriage? Happy wife, happy life?
Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Justine's going to win. Happy wife, happy life. Game over.
I love how you just don't even analyze it. I'm picking Justine as well. I think she's going to win. I do. I think she's going to win big, and I think, and we were talking about the playoff race earlier. There's a window here for her to go on a run. She has the players. She doesn't have a difficult schedule to finish the year. What's so funny?
Nothing. I just cracked myself up, and
oh god.
It's also nice to hear you laugh because I don't know. Like I just wish and I know everybody has their own life going on, and I just wish we could have a couple more people on here and just start spewing shit back and forth like I'm doing right now. That's all.
I think we're gonna get Larry and Justine back in a week or two.
But you told me that 2 weeks ago.
Well, yes, and then life happens. So.
Wait, what?
Life things happen.
Right. What happened to them outside of moving?
Nothing. It was just life. Right.
Oh. You got me scared. I thought.
No, nothing happened. Don't worry about that. Yeah. You basically said it all. Justine's gonna win this week.
I guess not. Okay.
We're gonna finish with this crappy matchup, and this shouldn't need much analyzing either. Joe's playing John, and John's team sucks. This week this week especially. Let's do the rundown. Zach Ertz, bye.
Tell me how you really feel.
Kareem Hunt. Well, no, Zach Ertz, bye. Kareem Hunt, bye. Mike Evans suspended. That's his three best healthy players right now. His lineup is a joke this week. Joe's won 2 in a row. His team hasn't played too badly. He's loaded at running back. His wide receivers are halfway decent. Compared to John's, are decent. He's got 3 guys in the top 25 in scoring. They're not outstanding, but they're okay. Joe's going to win by a lot this week. Let's be honest. And Joe is somebody. I mean, I know looks like a crappy matchup on paper. He could go on a run even at 3-6. It's a little bit harder for him than Brendan and Larry because he doesn't have the division in play. But teams have gone from 3-6 to playoffs before. So this
is true.
in all fairness, because I just realized what I said, I don't think he's going to the playoffs. I'm just saying it's a possibility. I just want to make that clear before I rile anybody up.
Yeah, duly noted. Duly noted. I'm just thinking, like, how can this really be a thought? I mean, it's going to be Joe.
It's not, yeah, exactly. I think we agreed on all 6 matchups this week. Well, except for we agreed on 5 of 6 matchups this week.
Right on.
Yeah, the Glenn Brendan one is the only one we didn't agree on. That rarely happens. By the way, I know I mentioned, Joe has a shot to make the playoffs. He probably is the hardest schedule to finish the year, I just realized. Because I just brought it up. He plays you, then me, and then Woj the last 3 weeks.
You're saying my team's tough?
You're 6-3.
That doesn't mean anything. It's about how you're doing now.
You're like second in points.
I'm number 1, thank you very much.
You're not. I am.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. I have 1,146. You have 1,121.
Like I said, you're first and I'm second.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's what you just said. Okay.
Just fucking around. I'm sorry.
In any case, if you want to go by the points scored thing, he's playing the top 2 teams in points scored, and Woj is 6th. So
doesn't mean anything. Defense wins championships.
Defense wins championships. That's my motto. I have the most points scored. I also have the fewest points against this season.
Yeah, so,
and you're not far behind me. So we've been living that. We've been living that motto this year. All right. Anything you want to add? Any last shout outs?
All right. Serious question.
Sure.
More likely to happen. John wins this weekend, or Glenn comes on next week's podcast?
Probably John winning this weekend.
Wow. All right.
Unless Glenn just told you he's coming on next week.
No, he did not.
No, he didn't. Well, just look at it this way. John's won 2 games this year. Glenn's been on once, I believe.
Right on.
So I'm going with the odds there.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Oh, and I wanted to mention before we go sign off, and I know I'm rubbing salt in the wound, I know, but the Giants, what in the holy hell was last week? Like, what the hell happened?
You know, and I know this is a sensitive topic for Brendan. And I myself wear the red, white, and blue very strongly. My godfather turned me on to the Giants, and I am a very true blue Giants fan. And I've been on record with this for a couple years now. We're either going to win the Super Bowl within the next 2 years, and I'm saying this in past tense, not present or future, or we're going in a slump and we're not going to be relevant for another 15, 20 years.
15 to 20 years?
Yeah, because...
How can you tell that far on? You're talking about people that... You're basically talking about generations of players who are like kids right now.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Throughout the 80s, we were playing some of the best football in franchise history. The 90s and early thousands, we were not as relevant as what we could have been. We did go to Super Bowl in 2000, but we got the shit kicked out of us. That year, I feel like, was an outlier. Then you look at, we get Eli, we have Tom Coughlin. One could argue the last decade and a half was a golden era in Giants history. 2 Super Bowls, a lot of good accomplishments, But now you're looking at the entire team as a whole. We have talent, but we don't have a coach to coordinate it. We've got the personnel to do something, but we don't have the management to, keep us going in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
The way things are shaping up, and especially after that last game, I think it's going to be clean house, and I think the Giants need to blow up the team and start from the ground up. I love Eli. I know he should be a true tried and blue Giant from beginning to end of his NFL career. And this isn't even on Eli. Eli, first ballot Hall of Famer, the greatest.
Oh, no. We'll have that discussion another day.
Right. But just hear me out.
Right, go ahead.
Eli should be the Hall of Famer. But the Giants simply just need to start over.
Bentley agrees.
Bentley agrees. See, Bentley agreed with me. And, it's sad to say, but he agrees with me again. But, we need to build it up right, and we need to do it right. I think we need to clean house, personnel on the offense and defense, the coaches, the GM, and we just, oh my God, Bentley, you and me are on the same page, brother. Let me tell you.
I was going to, before we finish up, because I wanted to ask this, because this was something that occurred to me when I realized he was not guaranteed any money after this year. Is Eli, they could easily cut Eli if they wanted to.
Yeah, but they also understand that this is a very emotional decision.
Yeah, I get that.
And that's why I'm saying, I don't want to see Eli go. I want to see Eli retire as a Giant and only be a Giant throughout his career.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're looking at the franchise as a whole, I think it's time to build for the future.
Mm-hmm. They probably should have done it a couple years ago. Started with that, but it is what it is. All right, that's it. We are all done.
All right. Hey, always a pleasure.